Bamboleo, bambolea, porque mi vida yo la prefiero vivir así. Because life, I prefer to live that way. That's the Gypsy Kings, if you remember. And vivir así, live a life like this, is something that I didn't really get to know until a little bit more recently. See, in 2021, I lost my grandfather, my paternal grandfather, to COVID. And now I'm losing my maternal grandparents twice. Once because they were taken away from my mom's care so they could receive better health care in Mexico City, so away from our hometown. And so twice because they're also closing the chapters of their life. And see, this kind of loss and grief, it prompts reflection. And the reflection that has come for me is in the form of questions. Who am I? Right? Have I done good by them? Am I successful? Well, what does success even look like? Well, fast forward a little bit after January, now we're in summer, and a colleague of mine comes to me. She had just attended an event where they presented the counterpoint to immigration. She was so mad. She's like, I wish you would have been there. You would have run circles around this person. And I was like, well, what happened? What did they say? Can you believe it? He shared that the only successful immigrants are those who assimilate. So just like in the movie Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, all the pictures of the immigrants I knew that I thought were successful flashed in front of me. And I stood still too, as I saw the multiverses and the versions of myself just flashing back and forth, of who I'd chosen to show to survive, to get by. And in that moment, all I could say to her with shame was, he was right. Like, no, please, how's that gonna be true? Like, look at you. And like a punch to the stomach, I was like, yep, look at me. You don't know Mexican me. And almost as if the universe had planned this, orchestrated it, after living in the United States for 18 years, which let me pause there because 18 years in 2021 was a moment I had crossed between being here in the US longer than I was in Mexico. I left when I was 17. And so this state that I was in, right, was new to me, and I didn't even know how to feel about that. All of a sudden, home, in terms of tenure, was no longer home. And this was now home. So again, almost orchestrated by the universe, come now early fall, I found myself for the first time, like I said, in 18 years, in a room full of Latinos and Latinas. Yes, and it was beautiful, right? There was music, there was food galore, and everybody was moving the chairs, being loud, being, joking with each other. Like I just felt alive. I still get the goosebumps from recalling that. For the first time in 18 years, since I left Mexico, I felt that. And I'm like, well, here we are. This is 2 cohorts now of 100 Latinos in that picture that a consulting company said, you know what? Northeast Ohio, Cleveland, TEDxAkron, you should take a look at these. These Latinas and Latinos, they're doing the work, and their work is amazing. And I was privileged to be one of those. And so in retrospect, I'm like, well, what happened, right? So I then found myself having a conversation with a friend of mine who I consider a mentor. And I was still lamenting, accepting that the guys said that, only immigrants that assimilate are successful, and me agreeing with that. So I was sharing that with her. And she's like, well, success according to who? And I was like, right. Success according to who? So then I realized I had this very basic idea of what success looked like. Somebody in a tight suit, sharp suit, right? In boardrooms or in Oval Offices, what have you, in pretty, amazing buildings, providing handshakes, giving orders, what have you. That's who I thought was the definition of successful, right? And I was holding somebody else's version of success in my head.
Ay, Titi, ¿por qué no eres una niña normal, Titi? ¿Por qué?
So cueing the words of my brother, as I'm reflecting on it, ay, Titi, why aren't you a normal girl? And I was like, oh, right. Success did look a little bit different for me growing up. Not normal is where my magic is. And now let me explain to you Mexican humor. Even though he is, very frustrated about having a sister that is not very normal, right? This younger brother, 7 years, my youngest, who is lifetimes wiser than me, right? He is saying this basically in sarcasm, right? He's like, why can't you be normal? But he's celebrating the fact that I am unique, while also teasing me a little bit for not being unique, for being a little too unique. And so as I was trying to figure out what success was and reflecting into what have I looked at or who would I sought to inspire me, I realized that as an immigrant, when you come over, and perhaps this is only my experience as an immigrant, but you find yourself in two ecosystems. You left your natural habitat, which is one ecosystem, and you go to another ecosystem, your new habitat. Well, the safest place in those habitats is the center, the middle, the norm, the average. And ecology has a beautiful term called the edge effect. So now I'm learning that at the edges of each ecosystem is where life thrives. There's higher biodiversity, there's more animals, and those who appear in that piece of edges, right? So if we go through a towpath trail, like you see the woods, and then the lake, and then you see the marsh or the meadow, right? And so in between is where you see the herons and the turtles and the frogs and all the birds chirping. And so they become a little bit more resilient, they become more diverse, they become more beautiful. And so what I'm realizing is I have to move from the center of those ecosystems where I'm at. Because while they serve me well then, I'm learning that that's not what is good for me now. And because in that edge is where life thrives, and because I love a good acronym, thank you, yes. I always love a good acronym. Not only so it helps you remember, but it helps me remember what the heck I'm talking about. And so in that area where the edges come together is life, right? And so what I'm learning is that I am now looking at life and moving through life and looking at success through the lens of B.I.V.I.R. So my acronym, what it stands for is vulnerability, integrity, first vision, my bad. I'm just being a little too vulnerable right now. That was first of mine. So vision, integrity, vulnerability, individuality, and rebellion. And each of these words, I was able to put faces to them. Because as I was reflecting on my journey, on growing up, on my brother's words of why are you not normal, I realized who those muses were to me. Frida, Cantinflas, Juan Gabriel, Locomía, and Chavela Vargas. Each embodying these words that are helping me now understand what I want to get and how I want to live through life. VIVIR. So Frida, vision. And I recommend that you research all of them so that you get to learn. There's documentaries now about them and movies, and definitely highly recommend you taking a look at each of them. So Frida vision. She was impaled by a bus accident, and she turned to painting to keep herself busy, to keep herself alive. And for me, vision is embodied by Frida because she taught us what a woman could be. She expanded what a woman could be, what an indigenous woman could be, what a disabled woman could be in art. And so she let art be the one that defined her. She was painting to reveal. And for me, that's vision. Not letting somebody else's version of you define yourself. Instead, having your own. Integrity, Cantinflas. Cantinflas was a comedian. He made movies. And Cantinflas is the character that Mario Moreno played. And a character that I loved because he was so witty. He turned humor into protest, outsmarting the high social class, politicians. He was always an advocate for the proletariat, for the people, right? And integrity meant standing true to your values, even in the face of power. And so he ridiculed hypocrisy. And he did that so well with words that there's even a Spanish word that defines what he did, which is cantinflear. Running around circles and never really arriving to the point, except for by the time that he was done talking, those who he was challenging were left confused and questioning their beliefs. Vulnerability. Juan Gabriel, El Divo de Juárez. Juan Gabriel could be one of Latin America's most prolific artists, writing over 1,500 songs, I think thousands of records also. And what made him so special was his vulnerability. He was able to hold, through his songs, joy and grief at the same time. And he was able to do so in a way that even though he was so flamboyant and really making Mexico, a very conservative country, rethink their gender norms and what it meant to be masculine. And he connected deeply with his feelings, which allowed those machos to show up to his concerts and be shedding tears, while women were also in tears because they felt like he was one of them. And so vulnerability is power. Vulnerability lets you show who you are and be authentic to yourself, which lets others do the same. Individuality. Rumba, samba, mambo. I'm just kidding. Loco Mia was a boy band of the 80s, Spaniards, and they were actually fashion designers turned musicians in Ibiza. And they became famous for their flamboyant outfits, again, fashion designers first, musicians later. So they made sure that their individuality showed through their fashion, through their performance, and through their challenge of conforming. Because similar as my other muses, they were also pushing boundaries of gender norms and pushing the boundaries of who you can be and when you could be who you could be. So individuality, that's who you are. Individuality in our shared humanity, right? Because we are here together, but you are here each your own. And being able to dig that up and bring it out is what the world needs more of. And finally, Chavela Vargas, rebellion. This woman, born in Costa Rica, went to Mexico at 14. She embodies the challenge to machismo. She took rancheras, which is a genre that is normally sung by men, and started singing them herself without changing the pronouns of the songs. Because again, most people singing rancheras were men. And so they were singing songs to women. And here she came, singing to women, courting women, when it was not really acceptable. In her ponchos, smoking cigars, carrying a pistol. She rebelled against those norms that looked to shrink her. And she came out and showed what could be done through creativity, through art. And so as I reviewed these muses, I realized, well, they're all artists. They're all creatives. Why was I drawn to them? And I realized it's because in the arts, you don't have to ask permission to be yourself. You can just be. And the more individual you are, the more you bring yourself out authentically, the more people like that. And the better the work that comes out of you. Now I get my own muse. I made one. Who, at 7 years old, with a paintbrush in her hand, was like, Mama, as she's painting this mural in our house, and I'm a Virgo, she's an Aries. It's like, Mama, nothing and no one is perfect. So now I didn't only get the past, now I get to have the future right in front of me, reminding me every day about how I need to either let go of some things or evolve on some things. I love you, Mayosito. And so as I reflected, then I thought about 3 different moments that were pivotal in me becoming who I am now. The first was hearing, el golf nomás es para hombres. Golf is just for men. Now I know everybody looks there like a man, but don't rain on my parade, okay? That is not the point right now. The point right now is that we were crushing societal norms and going to the golf course and playing golf when we were told not to play golf, right? So I crushed that. I went ahead and got myself a full scholarship to play golf at the University of Louisville. Don't sell the hot sauce. Okay. I almost feel like my dad told me not to do things, so I'd go do them. But don't sell the hot sauce. I am now celebrating 10 years of having started Not Your Daddy's Mexican Hot Sauce. And thanks to your guys' support, thank you. Continue to sell it. And one of my recent ones, and likely more favorite ones, is you're not cut out for this program. Okay. But I'm cut out for 2 more. So now I was trying to get into 1 master's degree. I got told, no, you're not cut out for it. So I went ahead and got 2 master's degrees and a PhD. And see, I was thinking, well, the nose shaped me. But no. The nose gave me the opportunity to see what other things were available to me that I hadn't thought of yet. Right? Through VIVIR. Understanding that there's vision, integrity, vulnerability, individuality, and rebellion. Those no's, with this framework, were transformed. Because breakthrough happens at the edges, where there's more life, right? And we are living in some times where fear wins the headlines, where we're rewarded for sameness, and some of us are being asked to delude ourselves. So, in the face of that, using this framework, we can move from surviving to thriving, from sobrevivir to vivir, right? In the edges, where we're gonna gain adaptability, creativity, resistance, agility. So basically, what I ask for you to do, which my mom always told me, el no ya lo tienes, you already have the no. Go get your yes. Go get your yes. Right? Whose no are you taking? Whose version of you does that no represent? And where is the version of you that needs to come out, that the world needs? So, do what I did. I took the scripts that were handed to me, you know, like you're too loud, you're too ambitious, you are too overqualified. And I made them into a paper airplane and sent them flying. So I'll leave you with that and additional words from Gypsy Kings: to fly, to sing, in the blue, painted of blue. That's where I want to live. But it doesn't sound as good, so let me try again. Volare, oh, cantare, oh, nel blu, dipinto di blu, felice di stare lassù.